Jennifer Brave with Facets Relational Care again, and I'm working on my series today on identifying different types of abuse. Today I want to talk about unwanted romantic pursuit. It is a form of abuse that most people don't know is a form of abuse, so it's not talked about often. And I wanted to talk about it because most unfortunately, I have experienced this. It is terrible, absolutely terrible. For those of you that follow my channel because you're interested in Myers-Briggs and Enneagram, or if you follow me on Patreon or Twitter for the content that I put out about that, I will say for the sake of this video that the particular person I am going to use was a 2 with a 1 wing and an ENFP. Now, with that being said, I am not at all suggesting that everybody who's a 2 with a 1 wing or an ENFP or anything like that is this way, but it makes kind of an interesting case study, I think, if you're interested in that sort of stuff. It is a good example of what a really unhealthy 2 with 1 ENFP could look like in real life. Sorry, my glasses were driving me crazy. Okay, so this gentleman, who shall remain unnamed, originally was a blind date set up with a friend. We went on one date. He thought it went really well and was interested in me. I thought it was terrible, and I really liked him as a person, but I felt absolutely no sexual or romantic connection there, and I told him so, and he was okay with being just friends. Or so I thought. There were a lot of red flags early on that, to be honest, I caught, but I just dismissed them thinking he's just an eccentric person, and I didn't take them too seriously. The first red flag was he needed me to give him a ride home one night, and my mother was in the hospital, and that night it was my turn to take care of her. So I told him, yeah, I'll come pick you up real quick, drop you off at home. I did. I get there. I had to go inside to use the bathroom really quick. And when I went in, his entire family was kind of standing semicircle in the living room. His mom, his dad, and his 4 other siblings, which I thought was weird. And they kind of went around taking turns introducing themselves to me. And his dad said something like, "You're right, she is really pretty." Weird things like that that indicate that he had been talking to his family about me as if I was some sort of romantic partner, which I thought was weird. And I kept trying to politely leave, and I told them, I'm sorry, I can't stay and talk. My mom's in the hospital. It's my night to take care of her. And his mom followed me out to my car, and she was talking to me, and she was saying things like, you seem like a really nice girl. He doesn't bring a lot of girls home. Please feel free to come back. We'd love to get to know you a little bit more. Things that you would say if you were dating somebody, which I thought was kind of weird. A week or 2 later, I was out shopping, and I was approached by a complete stranger who stopped me and was looking at me like they thought they knew me. And he said, "Oh, I thought I recognized you. You're so-and-so's fiance." And I was like, "No, you have the wrong person. I'm nobody's fiance." And he said, "I'm sorry, I thought this was you." And he pulls out like a little wallet-sized photo from his wallet and shows it to me. And it is a picture that had been photo spliced of me and this guy. And apparently, unbeknownst to me, he had printed off a few, I guess, and was passing them out to his friends saying, "This is my new fiance, we're planning our engagement party," and yada, yada, yada. So I confronted him about it. And he apologized profusely. "I'm sorry, that was over the line. You're right." This guy said something like, "I guess I should probably call my grandparents and just tell them the truth." Like, this motherfucker had told like every goddamn person he knew in his whole life. Like, you know what I mean? So he laid off for a little while. And for a couple of months, we were really good friends. And I was like, okay, he's got it through his head now that this is not okay. And then everything started again, repeated marriage proposals. And this is when I got to the point where I told him, I don't want you to contact me anymore. I don't want to be friends with you. And so he started sending gifts he would mail to me. Oh, mailing only after personally delivering them didn't work. He would come to my house on several different occasions with gifts that he had purchased for me that he thought I would like. And he would sit there and ring the doorbell and knock on the door, and I wouldn't come out because I didn't want to talk to him. So he would leave them on the step. And then eventually he started sending things in the mail. He would send love letters and cards, and constantly, I mean, I was at least getting 2 things a week, sometimes more. And he would call, and I would block his calls, and he would text me, and I would ignore them. And finally, the whole thing ended. I mean, it took forever. This guy was harassing me probably for a good year. And right about the time, like, the year came up, he sent me some text message one day, and it was something to the effect of, obviously you don't love me. I do all these things for you. I work really hard to earn the money that I spend on those gifts. You know I don't have a lot of money. You've never said thank you. All you do is ignore me. I'm not going to spend any more time with you or invest any more time with you because I deserve someone that loves me as much as I love them. It was this little, like, petty 2 speech, you know. Anyways, I'd have to avoid certain places. Our circle of friends overlapped just a little bit, not too much. And these people who were mutual friends for a time would come to me to speak on his behalf, and were trying to coerce me to be nicer to him, to spend more time with him, to stop telling him to leave me alone. Why am I so mean when he does all these nice things for me? He has good intentions, blah, 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 blah. So I had to start avoiding those people. So that's an example from my life of what unwanted romantic pursuit can look like. It is a form of abuse. It can make your life a living hell in a variety of different ways, as I hope I have adequately demonstrated here. So if you have somebody like that in your life that's doing that to you, with these sorts of people, you have to place extreme boundaries. You need to say no. You need to say it directly so that there is no confusion. Hopefully, in an ideal situation, that will shut everything down. But in my situation, I had to say it again and again and again and again, and he still didn't get it. Things like blocking phone calls, not replying to text messages, maybe blocking somebody on Facebook. In my case, I had to go so far as to avoid certain social situations and groups of friends that I knew he was involved in because I couldn't get myself wrapped up in that. I stopped receiving his gifts. I wouldn't take anything that he purchased for me. There were a lot of extreme boundaries that I had to put in place. To be entirely honest with you, another step I could have taken could have been a restraining order, so that's an option. And one of the things that I walked away with emotionally from that was actually a lot of hurt, because the way that he was pursuing me, albeit overwhelming and very aggressive, was a form of pursuit that, had it been from a man that I was actually interested in, and had it been toned down just a little bit, I would have really enjoyed. Another thing that frustrated me in this situation is he's the first man that ever genuinely asked me to marry him. Like, he made a whole production of it and everything, had a ring and all this stuff. And that was an especially crushing blow to me because, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think for a lot of women, you know, the idea of a man asking you to marry him is a really romantic thing, and it's really special, and you want it to be the right person. And if you get all these people that just start asking you to marry them, it kind of loses its magic a little bit. You know what I mean? It's hard to take it as seriously. It's hard to find the emotional value there, I think. And so in a lot of ways, I had some anger because I feel like he took a moment that I was really looking forward to, something that I would have wanted to have been very special, and just completely drug it through the dirt and disrespected it and used it as a tool to try to satisfy his need for finding a partner and finding human love. That was one of the things that hurt the most. At the time that this was happening, when I first met him and we went on the blind date, I had just broken up with a guy that I really, really did care about. And so I was still kind of recovering from that, and I was going through some depression about having to be alone and losing someone that I really cared about. And so he kind of came in at a time where I was already really, really hurting. And so I feel like he was taking advantage of that because I did have a need there for companionship and for romantic affection. And I feel like he came in and tried to take advantage of that to manipulate me to give him love and affection that he wanted. And so he took a vulnerability and he took something that would have been very precious to me otherwise, and he used those things as tools to abuse me. And granted, I don't think he woke up every morning and said, I'm gonna make her life a living hell, I'm gonna abuse her, I don't care about how she feels. I think he was just so lost in this desperateness to be loved and to be wanted that he had these blinders on. You know what I mean? He could not see the damage that he was doing, not only to me, but to himself as well, because I had to cut him off and push him away, which just added to his sense of loneliness and his sense of hurt and rejection. So he walks away with a sense of personal rejection and hurt and more loneliness than he came into our friendship with, right? So the whole thing was just a giant clusterfuck. Anyways, unwanted romantic pursuit is a form of harassment and it is a form of abuse. So if it's happening to you, start looking at some extreme boundaries that you can take, measures that you can take, because unfortunately in situations like that, you're gonna need to put some extreme boundaries down.